everybody. So today we're going to be learning about section 4.4, which is about the atmosphere. So our learning objective for today is that you can describe the structure and composition of Earth's atmosphere, and some of the essential skills that we're going to be learning about are what is the atmosphere made up and what are the different layers of the atmosphere, and so based on that, what are some of the characteristics of these layers. So to start out, we're first going to explain what are the gases that actually make up Earth's atmosphere. So the gas that makes up the most amount is going to be nitrogen. It's approximately 78% of our atmosphere. A lot of times we tend to think oxygen is the biggest, but it's not. It's nitrogen. And mostly it's going to be in the form of nitrogen gas, which is N2. And this is a form that's generally unusable to plants without bacteria fixing this nitrogen into a usable form, or through man-made processes where we create synthetic formula or synthetic fertilizer from it. But just by itself, it's going to be unusable for plants. So the second biggest component of our atmosphere is going to be oxygen gas. And this is going to be produced by photosynthesis in plants, and it's needed for humans and animals for respiration. Now, fun fact about the AP test, if you ever get an FRQ that's asking you about oxygen, it's not going to be enough for you to just say that we breathe it in. Why do we breathe it? What do humans or animals need it for? And so you want to make sure that you're specific that we need to breathe in oxygen for respiration so that we can make the energy that our cells need. But oxygen is going to be coming because of photosynthesis done by plants. So the next portion is going to be argon, which is about 0.93% of our atmosphere. And this is going to be an inert, noble gas. And then next up is water vapor, which can actually kind of have quite a variety in how much we have, anywhere from 0 to 4%. And this is going to vary just because of the different regions and conditions. Now, water is actually technically a greenhouse gas because it's able to trap in some of that energy from the sun's rays. But we aren't so concerned with it. We don't have to work to try to decrease the levels of water in the atmosphere like how we often talk about with carbon dioxide, because water vapor is going to be quickly cycling throughout the atmosphere, which moves us on to carbon dioxide, which we are concerned about when it comes to greenhouse gases. Now, you might look at that amount of CO2 and say, it is about 0.04%. That is such a small amount. Like, why are we even concerned about it as a greenhouse gas? And that's because even though it's a small amount and it is rising, CO2 has the power to hold in the energy from the sun's rays, which is going to lead to increasing temperatures in the atmosphere, which is going to lead to increasing temperatures on the entire globe. And because that is continuing to go up, we're going to see problems even in small amounts. Now, carbon dioxide is going to be removed from the atmosphere by photosynthesis from plants. So that's a reason why plants are important in this conversation of greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide, because plants take this in for photosynthesis. So that's something that removes it from the atmosphere. So we're going to talk about the layers of the atmosphere, and I'm going to go from bottom to top. So on these notes here, the one on the bottom is going to be the lowest layer, and then I'll go up from there. So the bottom layer is going to be the troposphere. And if you want some help with remembering what troposphere stands for, this is the area where we all are going to be experiencing. It's from 0 to 16 kilometers. And if you think about the Greek word of tropo, this means change. So you can kind of remember about the fact that this is going to be the layer where we're getting a lot of change from weather, because weather occurs in the troposphere. So you're going to get different clouds, you're going to get like rain, you're going to get heat, lots of changes happening. Now, the troposphere is also going to be the most dense layer, and that's because of all the other layers on top of it are going to be causing pressure. So the troposphere is where we actually get like the densest amount. The air molecules are going to be more packed tightly together. And this is going to be where most of the atmosphere gas molecules are found, are here in the troposphere. Additionally, you're actually going to find some ozone, which is O3 is the molecule for that. However, ozone in the troposphere is going to be harmful to humans. It's going to cause respiratory irritants. It can damage the plant stomata, which are the little holes where they take in carbon dioxide and send out oxygen. And the reason why ozone is going to be a problem here in the troposphere is that it forms smog, and smog is going to be what is actually damaging to us. So then when you go up, the next layer we have is the stratosphere. And you can think S for second layer, because stratosphere starts with an S. And this is going to be anywhere from 16 to 60 kilometers. Now, this is going to be less dense due to the fact that there's going to be less layers above it pressing down. So it's less dense than the troposphere. And here in the stratosphere is where we're going to find the thickest layer of ozone. So when you think of the ozone layer, this is where we're talking about. And ozone is really important because it's going to absorb UVB and UVC rays. These are type of rays that come from the sun. And UVB and UVC rays are going to actually be able to mutate the DNA of animals and humans, which causes cancer, which is why we need this ozone layer to absorb these rays to protect us from this damage. So now if you go up another level, we're going to go to the mesosphere, and meso means middle. So that can help you remember it. And this is going to be at the 60 to 80 kilometers from Earth's surface. And again, we're still going up in these layers, so it's going to be even less dense at the mesosphere. Up one more layer is going to be the thermosphere. Now, therm is going to be hot. So this is where we're going to have the hottest temperature is in the thermosphere. What we're also going to have at this layer is this is going to be where we're having a lot of harmful X-rays and UV radiation from the sun actually being absorbed. So it's not going all the way down to the troposphere where we are. So we are very grateful for this. But another cool thing that happens at the troposphere is this is where you start to get charged gas molecules that start to glow because of the intense solar radiation that's being absorbed there. And this is what leads to the aurora borealis, which are the northern lights. So the northern lights are actually occurring here in the thermosphere layer, which then brings us to the outermost layer, which is the exosphere. If you want to think exo is like outside, think of like the exoskeleton of a bug. It's the outside layer. So the exosphere is the outermost layer, and this is going to be where our atmosphere starts to basically merge with space. So as we go up in these layers, an important factor to be aware of is going to be the temperature gradients at these different levels. So the layers of Earth's atmosphere are going to be based on where we have temperature gradients changing with respect to the distance from Earth's surface. And I am going to kind of use a few different ways to explain this. So on the left-hand side, if you look at this graph, altitude is as we're going up, and then we have temperature. Towards the left is going to be the colder temperatures. To the right is going to be the warmer temperatures. Additionally, I have color coordinated this. For red is where we have temperature increasing, blue is where we have temperature decreasing, and I have also included these arrows here. So if the arrows are helpful for you, then it just kind of gives you another visual representation, because I know it can be kind of hard to keep in mind how these temperature gradients are changing. But we will start at the bottom. So at the troposphere, as we go up in altitude, our temperature is going to decrease. And that's because the air is going to get further from the warmth of Earth's surface. Think about the fact if you go up a mountain, it is much colder on the top of the mountain than it is at the bottom here at sea level. So if you look at this arrow, as you go up, this arrow is blue because temperature is decreasing. Then the next layer, we're going to get to the stratosphere. And at this layer, as we go up in altitude, temperature is going to be increasing. And this is because the top layer of the stratosphere is warmed by UV rays. So kind of think like the very top little layer of a pool is going to be warmer, and that's because it's closer to the rays and it's actually getting those rays warming it. So that's why in the stratosphere, as the temperature or as the altitude increases, temperature is also increasing. Next layer is the mesosphere, and again, it's blue. So now we're going to have the fact that temperature is going to be decreasing as we move up in the atmosphere. And this is because temperature is going to decrease because our density is decreasing, which means there's going to be fewer molecules to absorb the sun. And the mesosphere is actually going to be the coldest place on Earth because temperatures can be around negative 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So it gets pretty cold in the mesosphere. Then we're going to have the thermosphere. And at this layer, again, it's red because temperatures are going to increase as you move up in the thermosphere. And this is because of the fact that you're getting a lot of absorption of really highly energetic solar radiation. And the thermosphere is going to be the hottest place on Earth, besides like the very core of Earth, because we're going to get to temperatures up to over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So hopefully these colors kind of help you, but it's important to know the reason why we are getting these different temperature gradients in like increasing or decreasing temperature as you move up in these different layers. So this is going to be your practice FRQ 4.4. And what I want you to do is you're going to be practicing the suggested skill of describing characteristics of an environmental concept or model represented visually. So you're going to look at this graph here, make sure that you pay attention to the axes and where it's cold temperatures versus warmer temperatures. And I want you to identify a layer of Earth from the diagram that has an inverse relationship between temperature and altitude. And then I want you to describe why this occurs. So that's going to be your practice FRQ for 4.4, and these were your notes on 4.4, which is about the atmosphere.